reproduction at a 2-day meeting in Abuja, and she was addressing the CMD of the State House Hospital, saying that construction is going on there, but there are no equipment in the hospital. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Welcome once again to Editors Forum. I'm joined now by public affairs analyst Dipo Olayokun. Thank you very much for finding time to come.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. Viewers, good afternoon.
Otunba Gbenga Onoyiga is former NUJ Vice President and also former Deputy Director at the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria. Thank you very much for finding time to come.
Thank you, Nifemi.
All right, so this is happening right under the nose of Mr. President, and that's what everyone is talking about. How come it took them 2 years? Of course, perhaps this is the first time the wife of the president is visiting the clinic, but if that is happening right in the Asura, in Abuja, what do we expect to be happening across the country?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what the wife of the president was trying to engender. I don't see her as really talking much about the Asura clinic. It's like she was using it as a signpost to look at the general state of health delivery in Nigeria. You see, I was watching her demeanor, let me use that. She was saying this thing naturally, not a prepared speech.
She wasn't reading it.
She was living a personal experience. And kudos to her, because each time the woman makes an intervention in national affairs, it generates national discourse. And I don't want us to see it as Yasuro stuff. We see it as the state of health services delivery generally in Nigeria. You see why people are looking at Yasuro stuff is, but this is supposed to be where the president, according to the idea behind establishing the Asura clinic, is specifically that the president, his family, the vice president, his family, and perhaps some of the ministers, because as we speak, there are reports that a minister is undergoing treatment abroad now, one of our ministers, as we speak. And if we have put, especially the Asura, which is going to represent the general health status in Nigeria in proper shape, there won't be any need for us to go abroad. Yeah, just go out to any of the general hospitals or any government hospitals. Because the lady said something. She said, even from there, she was referred abroad for treatment. But perhaps, for certain reasons, she said, no, I'm going to be treated abroad, and she had to be taken to, or let me say she went to a private hospital owned by a foreigner in Nigeria. Just like being treated abroad, anyway, just so to speak. So I think we should look beyond what she has said. She has generated a discourse. How do we put this in shape? We have listened to a lot of comments in this thing broke, and I've heard a lot of stories, and you see, it's like people just see it as normal. The president was away for about 3 months, the second installment, the first time was about a month, and nobody did anything. I remember some 4 or 5 years ago, a former president said, while he was being treated in Germany, that he died 9 times and he was resurrected. And the thing just went like that. A former governor in Nigeria once built a world-class hospital. Eventually, when the man was involved in an accident, he had no external injury, but he said he had to be thrown abroad to go and see if it actually had some internal issues. So that is just to let you know that there's the need for us to engage in serious discourse as how we can elevate our health service delivery.
Otunba, this is not the first time that the wife of the president is making such huge allegations. At some point, the husband even had to say that she's my wife and she belongs to the other room. One would have thought that as wife of the president, and perhaps one would have safely assumed that she occupies a primary position in the president's heart. The president has a capacity to turn things around, to change. That's why he was elected as president. How come this is coming to the public space instead of going through the commander-in-chief, who could have made things happen without us hearing about it?
Let me start by commending the First Lady for her openness, for her boldness, and being down to earth. You know, she has really won my heart, and I'm sure the hearts of many Nigerians. You know, we have to be realistic. Like my colleague here said, she set aside the prepared speech and she was speaking right from her heart. And sincerely, those who have been to some of these hospitals will agree with her that something just has to be done. If it can happen in that particular hospital, which used to be the best, I spent 23 years in Abuja, and I know that people were referred, in the past, people were being referred to that particular hospital. That's had the best of all those facilities and even the personnel. So I wonder why everything is so degenerated. And the person I pity is the ordinary Nigerian. The ordinary Nigerian. No wonder people just die. And I mean, without, it's like we are used to it. I died in the hospital. Nobody cares to find out how, why. Were the necessary equipment or drugs available? And let me just digress a bit on this related. Each time I go to all these chemists to buy drugs for malaria and everything, and they come up with bring 2,000, bring this. In fact, they've known me. I would say, yes, I can afford the 2,000, 3,000, 1,000. But what of the ordinary person there who is struggling to get 200 naira, 100 naira to eat? Not talk of getting money for malaria, something as common as malaria, that as far as I'm concerned, Nigeria is supposed to be treated free, because it's all over. It's the commonest as far as I'm concerned. But the drugs are so expensive. Not talk of going to a government hospital, a facilities, and you can imagine, if it can happen in Aso Rock Clinic, then God help the ordinary Nigerian.
And in a swift reaction to this, the House of Representatives has now resolved to set up an ad hoc committee to investigate both former President Goodluck Jonathan and the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. They're looking at 11.1 billion naira state house clinic budgets between 2015 and 2017. According to the wife of the president, construction is seen going on. But the problem is they have fantastic buildings, but there are not equipment in it. Now, whose responsibility is it now to fix this challenge? Because we have the wife of the president. I mean, and then she's talking to the CMD. Who really has the responsibility to clean this challenge?
Yeah, I think there's the need for us to make one thing clear here. When the House of Reps said they are going to probe the two administrations, they are not saying that they are going to probe the current president and the past president, because it will be out of place for us to expect the president to be involved in how Aso Rock Clinic is being run. There is a bureaucracy. To the best of my knowledge, I think the Aso Rock Clinic should be under the SDF. But the question is, yes, it is true. I think in 2015, about 4 billion naira was budgeted for the hospital. Last year, and this about 2 to 3 billion naira. Yes, we are still in the 2017. We can't say they can make any meaningful impact, whatever they have released. And then there's a need for us to understand that there's a difference between budgeting and then allocation. Maybe what is going to help us in the probe they are going to do is going to unravel how much was actually released. And then the process of budgeting and then the process of releasing funds. The funds that have been released, how were they judiciously or how used? There's a need for us to know. And if at all you only hear of budget allocation, nobody talks about allocation, then we must begin to look at, okay, how do we match budget with allocation of the real fund? I think those are the things we should understand. And then if anybody is found culpable, because unfortunately there's this general belief that the civil servants, is a set bit of whatever you want to call it in Nigeria. There's a need for us to understand what really happened. Somebody told me that at a forum, I wouldn't know if it was official or unofficial, that the permanent secretary in charge of the hospital said, yes, we are bringing structures, we are developing structures. But the question is that the difference between structure and then the facilities within. According to what they said, though it's not stated in what the wife of the president said, that even as common as syringe was not available. Somebody said that about 2 or 3 weeks ago, one of the daughters of the president in her tweet actually said that even small things are not in Aso Rock Clinic. Definitely, what it means and simply tells us is that that clinic has been abandoned because you cannot get a syringe from the hospital. And just like what Otimba said, I want us as a country or as a people to look beyond the Aso Rock issue, the picture painted by the First Lady. Let us be, I'm sorry, the wife of the president, but he said he doesn't want to be addressed as such. There's a need for us to begin to look at what do we have in hospitals spread across the country. I thank God for my nature. I can't remember the last time I went to the hospital either for one treatment or so. But I am about 2 or 3 weeks ago, on the 21st of September to be precise, I needed a medical report for something I was pursuing. Then they said they wanted a medical report provided by a general government hospital. And I went to General Hospital Oguntoye. Fantastic structure compared to what it used to be. But when you see people and what they go through,
The wait endlessly, spend
as
the
a matter
whole
of
day.
fact, something happened, some people came all of a sudden, you know, the usual Nigerian wanting to jump the queue, and one of the nurses was saying, no, we aren't going to allow this one here. Now look at that old woman there, she has been here since 6 o'clock, that she got to the hospital at 6:30. I met the old woman there by 6 o'clock. I was aghast. I said, 6 o'clock? This woman, what does she want in the hospital? She said, what do you see? That's why people get to the hospital as early as 5. If you have an appointment with doctor or stuff like that. And if you are going for medical treatment, and you need to subject yourself to that kind of treatment, I am very sure that by the time you leave the hospital, the tendency is that you will carry another thing. So there should be a holistic approach to how do we solve these issues. How do they do it elsewhere? Our hospitals, are they actually serving the purpose for which they are set up? We shouldn't focus more on national work alone. Let us begin to do that first. We have a president's submission as a way of looking at the general health status of Nigeria as it affects you and I.
It's all right.
Yes, let me just chip in something.
Yeah.
I want to agree with him totally. The probe, the inquiry should be holistic. It should not be limited to Aso Rock. I mean, Aso Rock clinic alone. Even in Lagos here, 3 weeks ago, I went to General Hospital Ikorodu, to assist in collecting the corpse of a late neighbor, and I couldn't just withstand the state of the mortuary. It was stinking. It was stinking. Government hospital right there in Lagos, and I was just wondering. They let me also compare. I mean, we are journalists. We have to balance. We also had costs to go to General Hospital Isolo. There's a mortuary there which has been privatized. Oh God, I mean, for my aunt to also do a similar thing, and a late aunt, beautiful.
Are you suggesting that we privatize the state house?
I'm not an advocate of all this whatever. People earn salaries. They should do their jobs. They should do their jobs. But if you compare the two, it's a world of difference. You think you can eat there at the reception. Even we went in to where they kept the mug proper, neat. You see, neat. So people should just do their jobs. You can't compare the two.
Some have even suggested that perhaps if we have government functionaries fix their health issues back at home, if there's a law that will not allow Mr. President to travel to London, for instance, but would have him stay back at home to be treated, that perhaps things will get better. Do you subscribe to that?
With what the wife of the president has done now, we hope.
She did that willingly. We are saying that perhaps there should be a law that will confine the treatment of government functionaries within the country.
To die in Nigeria. I mean, we are not.
But now the idea is that if you know that you can't fly out, you will fix the health system.
It shouldn't get to that. The right thing should be
Don't
done.
you think it has gotten to that now? Because we have a situation where we have, you just said that there's possibility that a minister is outside the country being treated. We have situations where people who are supposed to be responsible to fix these problems have the same challenge, check out of the country easily, perhaps because they have the means to do so. And that's the only reason. Okay, we had Ebola. Fantastic job they did in Lagos to curb Ebola. Now there is monkeypox, and the Minister of Health is saying that we have to confirm that it is indeed monkeypox from the WHO laboratory in Senegal. When will Nigeria attain that status if such drastic step is not taken?
Okay, let me agree with you. Maybe by the time there's a law or an understanding that all government officials should